Yeah, we back at it again. What's going on, people? Back with another one. This time we talking about the budget. We always talk about budgeting. We always talk about money. This is normal. And then, ever since it's Money Monday, we gotta have the discussion. So let's get into it. Looking at your situation right now, you might be good with your money. You might not. Jessica, what's going on with you? You might be good with your money. You might not. But if you aren't good with your money, what's going on, Prince Pierre? What's going on? Now, shout out to you, Prince. I seen your video over there on Instagram, man. Shout out to you, license in the game now. M Mills, what's going on? But, you know, we're gonna keep it real. We're gonna keep it real good with this one. So, if you're not actually good with budgeting, I'm just giving some tips, and these tips could actually help you with your budget and make your budget better, or to a degree, you might learn something, implement it into your budget, far as spending your money, making sure you have savings, or just in general, having things in order. So, for the most part, let's get into it. Everybody pretty much is literally on a month to month. Now, I know some older people, they pay yearly on majority of their bills. And when I say pay yearly, how would you pay your water bill every month? You pay monthly on your water bill, you pay monthly on your utilities. Well, they pretty much have an estimate of every single month that they typically pay on their bills due to their bill schedule every month that comes out online. So they pretty much take a lot of time when they take their tax return. They try to pay all their bills up front, just in general. And for the ones that they can't pay like that, they typically put it in an account and have it withdraw it out. I mean, because in general, there are some bills that you can actually pay over, you know, to a degree. Let's say 500, $1,000, or something like that. And some of them typically won't let you do that. But for the ones that do, I've known people that pay over the amount, and then instead of having a negative every month, they're always in a positive until they catch up. And that's one way of doing it, because typically if you live alone, or you have, you and your spouse, or you have your kids, typically how much your bill is every month. So it's not like it's a surprise, like, oh man, why the water bills, $700 this month. Your water bill is typically $700. There every once in a while you get caught off guard, but that doesn't necessarily say the people that do this that they don't check the bills every month to make sure it's accurate. And sometimes things happen. You can say that they get over on you or not, but I'm just going to say things happen. So it's always good to go check. Even though you spend like that, it's always good to go check. Now things have a set price, like your car insurance. You can pay your car insurance every month, every 6 months, and then every year. Because typically it's going to always, roughly be about the same. So people who pay like that typically always, have a point of reference that they always know that this bill is not going to change unless, I have an accident or something, or they're just going up on the rate in general. So those are the things that you pretty much know always have a set. Mortgage, unless the property tax or your insurance goes up, mortgage is typically the same. And a lot of people, just like I said, having a base to where you're writing things down, and month to month, you can typically always have a schedule in which I know the bills are coming out on Wednesday on the 6th. I know this bill is coming out 2 weeks from now for something, the car insurance. You already have a set plan. And that's the thing. A lot of people typically stare away from calendars, writing these things down, but we have the best calendar always around us 10 times out of 10, and that's in our phone. Take advantage of your Google Calendar. I have my Google Calendar on one screen by itself. I expanded it, make it a monthly to where I can see, and then I also can have it. I think I'm gonna start doing that one as well. Taking a small calendar and do it day by day on my home screen. Because I typically have the apps that I normally use and hit a lot on my home screen, to where I have access to my pictures, have access to my camera, um, typically, if I need some things as my Google, that's Google Play Store is right there at the bottom, right along with my text messages and my internet and my phone. So if anything ever happens, I have these apps right there, particularly, where I can reach out and grab them real quick. Second page on my phone is my calendar. And that's what I'm saying. Using your Google Calendar to your advantage, a lot of people don't understand, like, using that Google Calendar, what it's actually for. And that is for you to, do the right thing and have things set far as your bills, far as appointments. So why not be able to use that on your phone and take advantage of it? Typically, there's a lot of people, cool gamer, what's going on? Typically, there's a lot of people who don't take advantage of the apps that they have on their phone that can help them save money. The calendar, which is my opinion, one of the most best to use. And when you're going into a situation, you're always going to have, a plan, because the older people always say, if you don't plan, you plan to fail. And typically in this case, when you're paying month to month and you don't know, like, you pretty much know amount that you have every month for your bills. There are some people that overspend because, when something comes up, instead of you just having the money in the savings or have a strict budget that you're adhere to, you're always constantly spending. A friend wants to go out on a pop-up dinner date or something like that. You want to go over here. The kids, want to go out to eat because they don't want any more cooked food. They want some Pizza Hut or something like everybody else, all the other kids. My son the other day asked me, let's go to Wingstop. I was like, no, Buffalo Wild Wings. I was like, you guys don't even go to Buffalo Wild Wings like that. He was like, well, um, I got a little money. I want to go to Buffalo Wild Wings. I'm like, how you gonna get there? And he's like, I was gonna see if you or mama could take me. I was like, nah, you're gonna eat Publix Publix Wild Wings. I'm like, whatever we make, that's what you eat. I'm not making no extra trips to go out. When I'm coming in the house, I'm doing what I need to do, and that's it. J3, what's going on with you? So a lot of times you'll have a point to where you're teaching your kid this budget habit too, because it's a force of habit. As a child, I remember not eating out as much due to the fact that it was a lot of us, so we would always eat at home and have that budget set. You know, I'm not going out every single day. Typically everybody, back in the day usually eats on Sunday. They go out to eat after church. So that was always in the budget. We always have a budget set aside that no matter what, we would go out to eat on Sunday. Now, if the bills were a little tight, then maybe you couldn't go out to eat on Sunday. You might have to come home and cook. But typically, you set the time in which you have a schedule in which everything needs to be done. Your calendar set for your rent when your rent is due, your calendar set when your cell phone is due, your calendar even set when your utilities are due. And let me get into this right quick. And so there's a thing called the four walls. You have food, shelter, utilities, and transportation. Those four walls, typically building of a house, you have to have four walls. And far as your finances, these four walls can help you because you're taking care of those strictly first. You have to eat, have a budget for your family. Um, I actually gonna start posting these pictures. I've been trying to collect my grocery bills every month. Every time I go buy some groceries, no matter what, Walmart kills me because I buy everything else, but I'm sticking to that. Anything I buy is going on that budget, whether on there. Now, food wise, if you're going buying snacks for the kids, all that, it's got to be in the budget, because typically parents will sit there and spend the most money on snacks, because kids don't want to eat at a certain time. Excuse me. Spawn, what's going on with you, man? Hope everything good with you. Now, when it comes to, your budgeting for your food and everything else, typically you will have issue because every month, one month you might have it to the point where, you're only going to eat hot dogs, hamburgers, rotisserie chickens, or cook your own chicken thighs or whatever. And then that next month, you're tired of cooking. You're buying a rotisserie. You're wanting some lobster. You want to eat high on the hog. But you have to take account everything that you're spending in that budget for that food is coming out somewhere else from other bills, something that not going to be able to get. So typically stick to a budget. Kind of you can go over a little bit, but that budget when you're going over is going somewhere else. All right, your shelter. It's not a shadow of a doubt. You have to pay your mortgage, you have to pay your rent to stay somewhere. Even if you stay with somebody, going from a point of staying with a family member, you make sure you pay them first. Because typically, a lot of people think, well, this is my uncle or this is my parents I'm staying with. They'll let me slide a week or two, you know, and typically to a point where they don't even need the money, just proving and showing you a lesson to where if you don't pay that money, you might get kicked out. So that's teaching you when you have your own place, if you don't pay at your own home, you're going to get evicted, you know, to a point where you're going to get foreclosed if you own a home, or you're going to get evicted if you're renting. Shout out to NC Worker. What's going on, boss lady Denise? And it has a point to it, like I said, from the four corners. You already went through the process of food, keeping the budget every month for your food, having your shelter, making sure you're paying your rent and everything on time so you won't have issues with that. Your utilities are the next biggest thing. You know, food you gotta eat. That's point blank. Even if you stay with your mom, your auntie, somebody, you need to eat. So that's the first point of reference. You need the food to eat. You need the food to survive. You need the energy. All that's coming from the food. Now, shelter. If you have somewhere to stay, you gotta pay. Shout out to Uncle Izzy. I like that. If you have somewhere to stay, you gotta pay. Did that rhyme? I don't even know. Shout out to Ism with the wisdom. Now, going into points of reference, when you're sit there and you have somewhere to stay, you got to pay your utilities. So that's the third on the list. Paying your utilities. Everything from your light, water, gas, you know, most time you have renter's insurance if you're renting. Your mortgage already has your insurance tapped into that, but you got to pay your utilities. You need your water. Take a bath. You need your gas to cook if you have a gas stove. You know, you need your lights to get your light bill. You need, I mean, just everything from your lights to cooking, refrigerator. You need lights. So paying your utilities, pretty much, that's your third. Transportation for your fourth, whether it be catching a bus, having a scooter, having a car, SUV, any vehicle to a degree. The ones that are operated on the motorways, you need insurance. So that's one big thing. Another thing, if you don't own the car outright, you need to pay monthly for that. Now, going into the point of how much it's going to cost, you have to make the budget for it. See, with a lot of people, they wanting these nice cars, but what is the budget? You know, and I always say this to a degree, if you have a decent job, you pretty much could afford anything. But like I always say, to a degree, can you get it? You could pretty much afford a Lamborghini. A Lamborghini is typically $1,000. 15, some of them are 2,000 depending on credit. But the point of reference is of owning those type of cars, can you afford the maintenance on them? No, that is the highest thing for most people to afford is the maintenance. Now, going into, no, I can't afford it. Well, if you paid your house off, you can. Well, if you had money saved to where you put so much down, you can. So, in general, you can go back and forth, say there are certain things you can afford because typically if you make a budget 10 times out of 10, you might can afford it. You might have to go Roman noodles for a couple years, but at the same time, you're gonna have a Lambo. Tamika, what's going on with you? Now, going into different situations, we already covered your four walls. Now let's get into cutting things out for your debt. Typically, we have points to where our four walls are covered. Anything outside of our four walls is kind of more or less on the manageable side. You're looking at eating out. You don't have to eat out. One of your four walls are already covered through food. You buy groceries. So typically you don't have to eat out. That's money saved right there. You know, compared to bringing lunch to work every day, compared to you eating out every day, you save a ton of money. I'm in the budget of that now. I'm in the process of buying me a hot plate to where I can start bringing more leftovers to work. Every once in a while you could treat yourself and buy something out, but just bringing the necessities at work. What's going on, Sweet Thumb? Just bringing your food can save you a whole lot of money, and that's the thing where a lot of people fall short in the budget. When it comes down to it, every day on average, I spend every time I eat on average close to 10, let's just say $10. You know, combos, going out grocery stores. I don't even eat that much fast food anymore. I typically eat, more or less burritos, Chinese food, or I go to like a grocery store and buy, the chicken, stuff like that of that nature. So typically on average, I'm spending anywhere from 10 to 18 bucks every time I go there to get me something to eat. And on average, I'm spending about 50. I say budget is about $50 every 2 weeks, far as me buying snacks. Yeah, that's the main thing where I buy, from the grocery store versus going and buy snacks. And from the vending machines, you're right. I literally went to the corner store one day and I think I paid $18 for two candy. I think it was some candy bars, Skittles or something. Uh, three drinks. I had two Powerades and one water, and I think I bought some chewing gum and I think a bag of peanuts or something. Anyway, I spent literally $18. And I was like, man, ain't no way. I go to the grocery store. I pretty much emulate the same thing. I bought a case of water. I bought a 6 pack of that was an 8 pack of Powerade. I ended up buying, what was it? A small pack of candy bars, the little mini bars. I think they were on sale for I think $2 or something, or a dollar. End up buying some chips, a container of mixed nuts and stuff like that. And with all that, I ended up spending like close to 40 some bucks, but it lasts me going into almost 3 weeks. That case of water, I think the Publix brand, I bought the spring water. I believe it was $5 for like 24, five or some $4 for like 24 bottles of water. And then, if I got tired of drinking the water every now and then, I would drink a Powerade. So going into that, I saved a lot of money on that budget. And let me get real quick in this. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up. Paying off your debt. A lot of times people have different methods. I heard about the snowball method. I heard of paying the highest interest rates down. and then go into the lowest interest rates, no matter how bad the debt is. Looking into a point of, far as your debt, paying the biggest debt off down to the smallest debt. The best thing to do is look at the interest rate versus paying on the debt in general, because the interest rate on certain debts carry high returns versus you sit there literally paying off the highest debt. You might have something that you're paying, let's say $20,000 debit that you have, a credit. Let's say a $20,000 credit or a $20,000 loan, but then you'll have the loan with a low interest rate of 8%, less than 10%. But then you'll have a credit card where your debt is $5,000, but it's at like 36% or 32 or 28%. That's a high interest rate. Every month you don't pay that debt, you only paying the minimum. You're paying so much on the interest far as with the minimum, you're gonna accrue almost the same amount of money, the 20,000, with just that interest rate alone. Hey, that's a good way to cut. Like I said, that's what I was doing. And far as your debt, make sure you pay off the highest interest first before you paying off the overall big debt. You know, if you pay off the highest interest rate and start to gradually go into the process, it'll be a whole lot smoother, a whole lot easier. Also, when you're paying off your debt, you want to make sure, like far as credit cards, loans, personal loans through people, rationalize like the time frame. If you could pay certain things off early, if you have somebody personally that you borrow money from, it might be in your best interest to pay them off first or fast as you can before you pay off the banks and everything else. Because personally, people will give you money faster than the banks and other, financial places will. Because if you lose that connection with a friend or family member over money during hard times when nobody's giving out loans, that personal loan from your family members or friend might be your only, leg of support, you know. And then also, let me break this down. When budgeting, a lot of people typically, overspend with their cards. I had went through this process when I was younger and learning debt. I literally started using cash. That was my only way to combat overdrafting, was using cash, to a point where I had got myself together to where I could understand that having more money in the account, not swiping the card as much, setting a budget to where I'm underspending instead of overspending. It's easy to swipe the card. Shout out to Kev on stage. He's a comedian, and he said the worst thing to do, praying to God when you see those three dots on the credit card swiper, hopefully it will, go through. There's plenty of times I've seen people where it didn't go through, and they was like, "Wait a minute, hold on." I seen this guy the other day. It's like, "I got money. I just got paid. It's Friday." I'm say, "Oh yeah, I locked my card up because I didn't want nobody tapping into my money. I had that issue before. Unlocked his card, swipe, got his food, and left." Same thing applies to people, you know, who just don't know how to manage money. You might want to start using cash till you get a budget for yourself, till you start being more comfortable with using your card and not creating so much debt. And another biggest thing is, a lot of people typically don't do, and I just started learning this a lot from people, is to start looking at your account every so often. There are charges that were on my account and I never knew of. There's this telemarketing company. I think I signed up with a program with them one time, and ever since then, it was what was it? It was telemarketing. I think it was one of those classes as well. Those I can't think of the name right now, where they have the classes where you go online, webinars. So it was a webinar sign up, and I think it was like $1 for the webinar, and some other charges were involved, and I declined on those and only picked I think it was $27 for this information because it was valuable. I got a lot of information for it. I was able to use it. I was able to do something far as business wise. That's why I initially went got the course for the webinar, and unannounced, just so randomly looked at my account and seen $100 drawed out for this company. I called the company that was the number that was on my credit card statement, and I asked them, I'm like, "What's going on? What is this transaction for?" And basically, they took it off. They said it won't happen again. 5 to 6 months, it happened again. I called my credit card company, told them that it happened. I said I want to switch my credit card number because I don't want to go through this issue again. Ain't had a problem since. That's why I'm saying, looking at your statements, you can literally catch things before they happen. Sometimes, scammers are real good to only take $10, take $20, and to see how much money you have before they take a lot of money. You know, there are some people that are good at their job with scamming to the point where they can tap in, notice exact precise money that you have. There's an issue with Cash App a lot of people have to where you're using a Cash App, someone Cash App scams you. And that's a thing where it was an issue. I went and bought something on OfferUp for someone to do a delivery, and I just brought cash. The guy was like, "Well, you don't have Cash App?" I was like, "No, I don't have Cash App." I said, "I got cash." He was like, "Well, I prefer Cash App payment." I said, "I literally don't have Cash App. Like, how am I supposed to give you money and I don't have a Cash App?" And he goes, "Yeah, okay, all right, I guess." And I'm scratching my head and it's like, who doesn't want cash? So you got to be wary and be worried about these type of people that do these type of things with scams. So like I said, if you're constantly looking at your account, you're avoiding a lot of problems down the line. You know, also with using your account, you also be able to understand that going into your account, you're able to see every month your bills, writing your bills down every month, writing every single transaction down. They literally have apps for this to where you can budget your money. They have templates online that you can use if you want to write it down to budget your money. And it gives you a rundown of every single thing, everything you spent, all the way down to using your credit card at the vending machine. $45 for gas. You know, that pop-up charge that was supposed to come out this day and end up coming out on Monday for you using too much let's see. What is it? Google Play. There are a lot of people who play video games and stuff online and everything on your Google Play apps. Prime example, I play Call of Duty on my phone and using that Call of Duty, ping, ping, ping. Just you might want to buy. I don't buy skins like that or buy weapons like that, but my son he uses it every time, and he knows my account. I don't have the password. Far as when I buy something, I literally buys it straight out with their phone. I literally have their phone on a password to where they want to buy anything. They have to give me the money or they have to tell me, and I sign, to the approval for that method. And that's a good thing as well, sweet thumb, on that. Every time your card is being swiped, sometimes it get a little annoying. That's why I typically don't have it on like that. And I normally just check my account anyway. But that's another way. Always won't be any kind of budgeting things that just pop up out of the blue and you never know because you're actually on top of it. Anytime your account gets low, I get a text like that as well, so I won't go into overdraft to where if my account gets under $100, I have a text message being sent out. Anytime I have a deposit or somebody send me some money, it's a text that comes to my phone. And that keeps you more or less on the curve with your account. Knowing these things, like I said, looking, having a budget, always sticking to that, that's the best. Yep, and that's always. So you'll be on top of it. Anytime any money goes in, any money comes out, just typically having those notifications set up pretty good. What's going on, Lisa J Stocks? And that's another thing too. Speaking on that, far as your investments, budgeting so you can save and invest. A lot of times, people don't even have money for savings. And typically, your savings and budgeting go hand in hand because if you have enough money to save to the side, you can also have enough money to invest. Typically, when I was starting off my investing, I would use my savings and vice versa to where I would take my savings, put it in my Robinhood when I first started off, and I would just put the money in there and I would delegate so much money every paycheck to go to Robinhood. Some small start off because I was just getting in there about $10. And I would literally go in that account, take those $10, spend it on a stock. But if I didn't spend it, that money will be in there acting as my savings until I spend it on something. And also with Robinhood having the card, I was able to take that card and go buy and spend like a debit card. So if it's something like a large purchase that I actually needed or something to a degree, then other than that, there you go. Yeah, and that's always it is the same way, as far as the notifications and everything to where a lot of people don't really know their money because they don't take the time to invest in it. Learn just like I say, just the small things like this. Getting that notification every time your account is being, withdrawn, money being spent, any anything. A lot of people just not doing this. And just like I said, basic necessities. What's going on, Queen? Basic necessities. You just having a budget, sticking to your budget, writing all your bills down, setting a plan. I get paid this much every week. I get paid this much every 2 weeks. I get paid this much every month. And see, that's the thing. When you're going from a weekly pay period to a every 2 week pay period, that's when budgeting goes into plan because I've known people to pay all their bills in the first week and they're struggling in the second week, hoping they can get to Friday, you know? And that's a hassle because, you know, you overspending. Like I said, sometimes you might have to just go home, eat Roman noodles or something at the house compared to always going out to eat. Big discussions, 76. Shout out to you, Dr. Dunbar. What's going on? And that's the thing. What a lot of people going over budget is mainly due to a lot of people actually spending more money out, far as food, because shout out to Bunny Rose in the building, what's going on? Now, this is the thing. Most people are not making more money at their job. They're not going to ask their job for a raise. Typically jobs are, kind of bullying, saying that, well, if you want a raise, typically I can go hire somebody else, but stick to your budget. Shout out to Gold Professor in the nine laws of seven self-govern. The nine laws. Number 6, number 7, know your worth, know who you are. Interchangeable. If you know your worth, then you know who you are. You ask for more money on your job, whether it be 50 cent, a quarter, something, that 50 cent and a quarter can go a long way within a 40-hour budget or hitting your overtime. So those quarters, 50 cent, people think, that's not much. You know, it goes a long way. Speaking on that. Then you're getting into a fact of the matter is where in your budget, groceries are more expensive. You know, Going out to eat is more expensive. I would assume for more people to cook at home versus going out to eat. Prime example. I am a right now as it stand in my household, I have about four, including me, is 4 people. Let's say if I get my 2 older kids to come back and stay with me and we all go out to eat and I pay for everybody's food. That's a total of 6 people I'm paying for. On average, anything over 4 in Georgia is considered you have to pay gratuity tax of 18%. So 18% gratuity tax on top of every person. I have teenagers. My twins are 13. My two oldest are 25 and 23. They eat adult plates. One of the twins he eat more like a little kid. He still eats chicken nuggets and fries. I mean, that's just his nature. He don't eat as much. Now my other son, this guy, ever since he was young, and I've always told him about real food, he literally wants real food. He goes to a restaurant, he don't want chicken tenders. He don't want fries. This guy wants a steak. This guy wants lobster tail. These are the things that interest him. So those things cost. And not to mention, you know, the older kids, same thing, have a palate. My daughter, she's half vegan in and out. So you know how that goes when you eat a little bit here, but more or less you eat a lot of vegetables so you can call yourself vegan. And then you have my son, to a degree, almost along that same line as well, to where he eats every once in a while, just more or less more vegetables than anything. And that's within the budget. You know, you gotta account for me and my wife, we're spending upwards about $30 for our plate. The twins, 25, my older kids, 25. That's 160. You know, appetizer, you have 6 people. So you at least need about two or maybe three appetizers. 160 added another 40 for the appetizer, that's 200. Everybody gets a drink. Those are $10 a piece just for regular soft drinks. So adding that, or just let's just say everybody, well, three out of the four people get soft drinks, and so that's another 40. And say the adults want, well, I know my other kids are adults, but they don't really drink like that. Let's just say me and my wife drinks. Just in general, we're going down the whole line. My wife gets one or two drinks. I get one or two drinks. Those drinks added up to $60. So from that 240 on the drinks, 60, that's $300 right there. $300 just go out and eat one meal. Where if we was to stay at home, we probably could have spent less than $100 and got pretty much everything we wanted within that budget right there. Or let's say 120, 150 versus spending $300, not to mention adding the tip to that. On a scale like that, you at minimum you will have to spend about $40 on the tip at minimum. $300 at minimum, $40 on the tip for me at minimum. So you're looking at almost, let's just go to 350. 350 going out to eat. Then on top of that, if you're eating at home, you cut the budget pretty much damn near in half, a little bit under half. So that's why it's more convenient to start a budget, stick to your budget, don't overspend, and know your goals. Like I said, you got your four walls. I'm be your four walls, your food, your shelter, your utilities, and your transportation. Sticking to your four walls first, and then after that, you cut for your budget and pay your bills. You know, you always have time, for your investments and your savings. Once you get those four walls out, and then you're able to, say if I want to save to always go out, say if you put it in a budget. If I want to always go and, eat more at this restaurant, you put it in the budget. That's where a lot of people lose out. You're just overspending, um, going to these parties. That's the main thing far as, your budget wise, eating out, shopping, and going to parties. That's the main hit for a lot of people's budget. You got to go to a party, so you got to get these new clothes. You don't want people to see you in the old clothes. You got to get these new clothes. Take a hit on that. Eating out, you got to go eat. You want to eat with these friends, and they have high spending limits because they make a lot of money. You know, Keeping up with the Joneses will have most people broke most people without because they always have to look as if they got money. Why do we have to look as if we got money? Why can't we literally just have money and focus on that? If I only got $100 to my name, I'm not gonna go to a restaurant and the bill is 130 and I just put it on the card and pay that back later. For what? Why don't I stick to my budget? I have $100 in my pocket. I need to be getting a meal at least about 50 to $75, if that, you know, or even possibly I know I got to go to work next week. I got to eat next week at work. Why don't I just get a cheaper meal? $30, the cheapest I can get the meal for. And most of the time, that's where we have our fault at. A lot of people try to go over the budget, and typically that's where they lose, far as money wise going into that scenario, that situation, you know. Yeah, and that's the thing, sweet thumb. A lot of times people look at their budget and say, well, if I literally just don't go out, or if I literally do this and do that, I'll save, I'll be this and I'll be that. When it comes down to it, saving your money is key. Knowing how to spend your money, just going over it. There's a lot of times I look at videos and I just so happen to pull up one of the biggest ones that Erica Williams, the classic climb, she turned me on to was Bigger Pockets. The Bigger Pockets podcast goes everything from real estate, budgeting, financial development of your mindset, all these things, buying, investing, purchasing business. From all that, it takes a budget. It takes you having discipline. Shout out to Gold Professor once again in the 9 laws of self-government. Discipline. You can't do anything in life without discipline. You got to have discipline to get up and go to work in the morning. You got to set your alarm. That's discipline. You got to have discipline to lose weight by not eating as much food. All that discipline is taking place for you to what? Better yourself. So having discipline is the first of all of many things that you need to accomplish in order to you to sustain life. You gotta have discipline. For as your budget, you gotta have discipline to save money, to make money. All the above, you need discipline. So, with that being said, shout out to everybody that came through. Get your finances in order. I'm not saying I'm the budget guru. I'm just basically stating the points. And it's up to you to make the decision to say, hey, I'm going to end up eventually making myself be better with my finance. I'm going to do things right. I'm going to have things on a schedule, and it's going to, overall benefit me, benefit my family, or just in general, benefit yourself. So with that being said, shout out to everybody that came through. You know what I always say? I always forgot to see, hit the like button on the way out. I always keep forgetting to say that. Now I keep shooting out. I'm a YouTuber now, so I gotta tell you to hit the like button. But for everybody that came through, I always say when I get off of here, we here and we gone. Peace.